everyone. My name is Dr. Jamie Johnson. I am the Interim Director for the School of Law Enforcement and Justice Administration, and welcome to WIU Inside the System, sponsored by Western Illinois University. Today we have a special guest with us. I'm so excited for this interview, and to be honest with you, a little nervous, okay? Just because we're going to be interviewing Mr. Robin Blandford today. He is a CEO of D4H. And for the people in my emergency management program, the Homeland Security program, you know his name. You have watched his videos. You have seen us and you have been trained on D4H. I also want to let you all know too, D4H was one of the first partnerships that I sought after. I was excited that they were gracious enough to accept us, to work with us. His team is amazing. And honestly, at this point in time, I'm just going to be welcoming him here. We're going to ask him some questions. I have some student questions as well, but we are excited to have him today. So, Robin, it is an amazing time to have you. Thank you for being on this podcast for us. Welcome, sir, to WIU Inside the System.
Thank you so much. Coming to you from Dublin, Ireland. And it's a grey, rainy day here in Dublin, Ireland.
Really? Rainy?
Yeah.
It's sunny here.
We're getting into the cold rain season, not the warm rain season. So,
well, I love Ireland. It is gorgeous. I love Scotland area. One of my students was just actually with you, I believe.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, we had Rory over for a day in the D4H lighthouse. Fantastic.
Well, she was ecstatic, okay, just to meet you all. So if you don't know, you and your team are pretty much rock stars on our campus and as well as in our community. So I want you to know your status here just because of the platform and being able to be able to utilize your platform and for everything you have done for Western Illinois University and our school. Just an absolute honor, okay? So, all right, so let's get to know you, Robin, all right? So, first question, I'm going to jump around a little bit, and depending on how you answer, sir, I may ask you to elaborate on a specific question. And of course, if there's a question going, you know what, Jamie, I can't answer that, you just say pass, okay? And I will move on, all right? So first thing is, can you tell us about, say, any college degrees, your military experience that you have? I want you to go through that first. Tell us about you.
Yeah, sure thing. So, yeah, I went through high school always on a computer, and I would have my teachers telling me, get off the computer, get off the computer. You need to study your English, you need to do your math, right? And I had in my head, well, when I go to university, all I'm going to do is computers, and that'll be amazing. I'll do nothing else but computers. And went to university to actually just study in the School of Electronic Engineering, what was called Digital Media Engineering.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's a combination of about a third software, a third telecoms, third electronics. And the idea was you can kind of translate between the fields in a management role rather than actually be deep in it. And it was a great course, four-year undergrad degree. I struggled all the way through. It turned out it was just maths all the way, and struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled. And then in the final, actually, I failed a year, did the repeats of the repeats, like really hard. And then the final year, we had a final year project we had to do. And that was me away. Great, give me a project. And so I got, there's a medal from the university for best project of the year. And, that was me. It was sponsored by Ericsson, the telecoms company. And so I ended up working for them for a little bit in a period after as well. But what I built actually at the time, my project was podcasting was brand new, just people had just started hearing about it. And I made a service you could phone in. We set up a SIP telephone server, which was also brand new. That you could do virtual telephone servers. This was all brand new, open source tech, very experimental. And so I actually started giving the service away, and people were using it. You'd give out a phone number at the end of your podcast, and you could ring the phone number, and every comment you recorded got added onto the audio of the podcast. So when you got to the end of the episode, you then heard all the comments phoned in, and it was automatically updating as people phone comments in. When you listen to it, you got the latest. So it was a cool service that brought all these things together. Anyway, that was me. I went on to do. I later in life went back to when I started very early days of D4H. So about 17 years ago, 18 years ago, I went back and did a postgraduate diploma in new business development, which was kind of a very practical course. Not sure how beneficial it was for me, but it was good to do. And then actually, I don't. I've no military background. The Coast Guard in Ireland is civilian, so we've our Coast Guard is a civilian effort, which is we're responsible for search and rescue and pollution response. It's and in
Oh,
Ireland as a neutral country, our Navy, which or our naval services we call them, are would do what your Homeland Security Coast Guard do. So they're protecting our borders,
mhm.
um, drugs, interdiction stuff, fisheries. That's all the Navy, and the Coast Guard look after safety and pollution. So it's a bit different. So we're civilian, and so I've 22 years in the Coast Guard now as well, and I'm now deputy officer in charge of a rescue base, if is our terminology, which we've about 45 of in the country. And so I'm the primary on-call person now. So if we get a tasking, I get the 911 call connects through to our control room to me, and I'll coordinate that rescue in the region. So that's my background in it, all search and rescue.
Oh, that is excellent. That's excellent. Okay, so now, how did you? I figure out, especially with the podcast, everything else that you developed, and everything that you had currently done within your university time. How did you come up with D4H?
So in the Coast Guard, I started looking. I just started going in my head. There's a pattern here. There's a pattern. We're going on rescues. It feels the same. I've been here before, and I was climbing down this. We're a cliff rescue team. In my Coast Guard, our primary piece is sea cliff rescue. So trying to imagine waves crashing into the bottom of a sea cliff, and
Yeah.
there's somebody or something down there that we have to get from midway or something like that. And so I was going down to this call out, and unfortunately, it was a body recovery. And I was like, I've been down this gully before. And it was a bit like this, the weather, and the tide was like that, and the waves were doing that. And I was like, this is interesting. And I just started to notice patterns like that. And I went, I'm going to start plotting these on a map. And I took Google Earth at the time and started doing some really basic GIS stuff of building some we call them cluster maps or heat maps of where incidents were happening and starting to tag them so they were filterable and I could search them and look for patterns and trends in geographically in the data. And I started to see patterns of like, at 5 p.m. on a Sunday, we start to get this area. What if we could prevent that by putting up signage at that location, by maybe putting someone at a trailhead there, by doing something like so there's all this prevention started coming from it. And then I start, well, I'll make this an SQL database. And that just started evolving. And we'll put it on the web. And then we'll do this. And then I gave it to the bases near us. And then I put it on a search and rescue forum online and said, hey, does anyone want to try this out? And I think about I was in full-time work at the time. On a Friday, I kind of got some initial feedback. I was like, I'm gone. That's it. Notice going in on Monday. I'm out of here, and that's I've been doing D4H since. Um, yeah, it was at the time I was working for Reuters, Thomson Reuters, now called, as an operations engineer, or the technology operations, and they had me in Singapore at the time, and I was working away in my apartment in the evenings on this database for my Coast Guard unit back home, and it just exploded.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so for the audience, because we're going to have, for example, new students coming in, they're going to be looking at this one. We have current professionals that, when I'm going out and I'm giving speeches or presentations, I'm always asked about my platforms, okay, which ones I'm utilizing, how the students are going, right? Can you first, okay, because I've heard multiple things. I know what D4H stands for, but for the audience, that I want you to tell us what D4H stands for. That's step one. And then step two, what is D4H?
Sure. Well, so originally D4H stood for Decisions for Heroes.
Yes.
Um, and That's a long time since we've called it that. I think we
Yeah.
dropped the name in 2011 or sometime around then to D4H. We shortened it, I should say. And we shortened it because we found a three-letter domain name, which is very unique. So that was like, oh, perfect. Um, what is D4H? So D4H is a software service online, so software as a service, a web application and mobile applications for people who need to prepare for or respond to any type of incident, emergency, or crisis. Typically, they're non-business as usual activities. There's something like a storm going to hit, a hurricane coming in, an injury that's occurred that's beyond your normal capacity to respond to, so it's beyond your kind of on-site first aiders. This is turning into a bit more. We talk about emergencies where it's escalating if we don't put something to stop it in place. So we have to take action to stop it escalating. And so we've got this tool, this software tool that helps you know everything in the past that you've done, or we call it known history. Everything you did, every activity you had, training, incidents, responses, misses, near misses, who attended them, what experience they gained, what certifications they got, what equipment was used, how long it was used for everything. That layer builds into what we call readiness. So we're feeding that data back into, are my people prepared and is my equipment prepared? And that is checking, have they got the training? Have they done it regularly? Who's on call now if we have an incident? My equipment, am I doing my inspections? Is it fueled? Is it serviced? Is it ready? Everything like that. Is everything ready to go? And that feeds up to the top of our pyramid we talk about, which is the coordination layer. And that is a software that helps you alert people that an incident has happened. So mission critical alerting, chase them, track them down by multi-channel to tell them there's something has occurred. You need to respond to it. And second part is coordinating that. And that's, I think, the area your students have got heavily involved in, the emergency management side of it, the crisis management side of it. How do we actually respond in a consistent manner to an incident and document it and visualize it and understand and, get our heads around the decisions and make them defensible when we do.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, so now you know that there are a lot of incident management platforms, whether that be international and also within the United States. Tell us, and then here's the thing too, I could answer this one as well. So tell us what makes D4H so different than everything else out there today.
Yeah, sure. So my instinct of where the difference came from was that that initial tool I built was built, I'm going to use the word, at a local level for local use. Now, why did
I
that have
see.
a difference? It wasn't a corporation trying to go solve a problem for headquarters. And
Got it.
so the tool was made. How do we make this extremely easy to use? How does this nearly feel consumer-like experience? Today, that's quite common. You open a business web app today and they're kind of friendly. That was not the case 10 years ago, right? It's still not the case in a lot of, if anyone's filing expenses, they'll know, right? But it's so, some software is made to be very friendly and usable. And as we've gotten more mobile app, a lot of software is going that way. But it was a big differentiator for us. So we had this software that was easy to use, was highly configurable. We gave a lot of autonomy at the local level that the headquarters still got what they wanted out of it in the background, had the right data fields and structures and everything else, but locally you could modify it slightly. And just it got huge buy-in and people championing it and saying this is like you do, Jamie. It's like people love to love it, and we just built that. And that snowballed. At the end of the day, we sum that all up as being uncomplicated. So the keyword we went out with was say we are the most uncomplicated emergency management software on the planet, period. That was our thing. We are going to be that. Not one of the most uncomplicated, the most uncomplicated. And that keyword is, we use it internally as we call it a binary gate. So we're deciding, should we release this? Could it be more uncomplicated? Yes or no? Yes, then it's not released. So we did that again and again, and that's everything we write. That's everything we use an image in marketing. Is the photo uncomplicated to look at? Is this color uncomplicated? Is this feature uncomplicated? Is the documentation written in an uncomplicated manner? Now, it's a hard bar to reach, but that's the goal. Everything goes through that filter. What happens when you do that and you reach out to the market and say, "Hey, we've got the most uncomplicated solution." And then they have their first phone call with you and they see, "Oh, this is a bit easy." And then they see the UI and they're like, "This looks a bit easy." And then, "Oh, here's our help center and that's easy to navigate." It turbo boosts forward that relationship because you're delivering what you said you were going to give, versus going out and we've going we see stuff like we've the most AI solution, and
Right.
okay, what's that? And then but there's still vectors pulling in every direction with that. It's the message isn't consistent. We are uncomplicated, and if that's what you want, we are you. And that is AI and that is everything else, but that's what you're going to get. So that was our differentiator.
Well, I would have to agree. Throughout my career, I've used a lot of platforms, and it's easy. It's easy. It's intuitive. This is the thing I hear: intuitive, and I teach, right? Okay, so my area is to make the next generations of emergency management better, Homeland Security, law enforcement, you name it, right? Okay. And the goal, of course, that I've seen is, of course, pedagogically, you'll get an 18-year-old in there who's tech savvy. You're going to get a 30-year-old in there who may be tech savvy. I'm 50 now, okay, so maybe tech savvy, okay, right? And all the way up, right? And everyone has consistently stated how intuitive it is. I have not heard I have a student that's older than me, right? And they're like, "Oh, this isn't bad." That's a selling point. And also for saying to people going, "I think I can actually use this for real." And then, of course, when we drill with students, everything we get to, first they have to learn the platform. Okay, that's step one. Then step two, we put them under pressure. And we have excellent faculty members that do this as well. It's not just me anymore. Remember the day it was just me, right? Now we have faculty members that are trained and they're doing it, putting them on pressure, and they're able to generate sit reps, you name it, all the way down, utilizing the map, and they're able to function as a team and as a unit. So, yeah, I will totally agree with that statement that you just did. So, of excitement, I can tell you flat out, that's one huge selling point to my students because they always keep saying, D4H. Okay, and that hand goes in the air because they know that they can definitely utilize it and customizable. Because we do drills for the hospitals like that line, universities that we could do drills on, communities we could do drills on, adapts. You name it, I've never faced a time that I have seen we cannot adapt it to. And let me tell you, we've done a lot of scenarios, and I'm always kind of like, let's try that one, okay, right? So I can definitely say, I totally agree with you. Okay, it has been very, very exciting to actually have.
We've had two taglines over the years with that, which is at the start it actually came from we were getting pressure from a customer who wanted to purchase it, and they're saying, but we need a manual with it because when they buy software they get a manual, and I remember saying, if we have to write a manual, we've got too complicated, and they went, oh, that okay. So that we wrote that then on our website. Yeah, if we have to write a manual, it's got too complicated. Now, in the world of software, mission critical software, and enterprise sales, we now have a manual, but that's our ethos. What we say now instead is, people ask how much training they use. We say, like, our aim is they can sit down and use it on a crisis for the first time. Like, they do not need, like, the admin needs some training, but if you've got someone who's going to do a basic job in there, fill in some paperwork forms, do some stuff, draw on the map, I bet they can sit down and figure it out.
Okay, well, no, I totally agree with that, 1,000%. Also, I had the pleasure of working with your team. Your team is amazing. And
Thank you.
how did you assemble such a good team? And every person who I ever talked to at your team is fantastic. And when I say this, respectful, knew what they were doing, knew exactly how to actually do it, show patience with me. So I want this clear. If I ask a dumb question, which I'm sure I did, and I would give that to Marie, something that it would be like there. How did you do that, sir? And I know, can you also expand on how you've done it through the remote capability? Because I know you're spread all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll probably cover that piece first and how we instill it. Well, the first thing to say is a good hiring process, right? It, it- I mean, that's a big piece of this. Get rid of people fast who aren't going to work out,
Mhm.
hire slow, um, and we've had lots of fails over the years. I mean, this is not like, but they're not on the team now, right? So this isn't perfect. We can't just pick somebody straight off. We've also had some fantastic people who've left, you know. So it's it this it, but it's a process of we're very strong culture, and we have a very strong culture is what I should be saying. And what is that culture? So I made a decision very early in COVID, like week one or two, this is not going to return fast. And at the time, there was eight of us sitting in one building in Dublin, and that's where we were at the time. And by the end of COVID, within 2 weeks, we'd moved. I'd shifted the company to what's called distributed working instead
Mhm.
of remote working. And for anyone watching who's not heard of that, distributed working is where there is no central point to be remote from. So it is an entirely different concept than remote working or hybrid working in any form. It means no two people ever sit in a room and join a call. Everyone joins from their own camera and laptop, even if they're sitting in the same office, sit in different rooms. It means there are no in-person events at all. Zero. It means there's complete, and because that, for the reason you cannot give equality. So if somebody lives nearby, they shouldn't be getting an after work, um, go out after work with other people where they're getting to influence slightly. Well, they might prefer me more for promotion, or they get to go to a Christmas party that half the company can go to because they live in Ireland, or like all these things. So we said there are no events. That's it. End of. No Christmas party. Cancel everything. We're going to do one event a year, which is we call the gathering, which
Okay.
is we bring our entire team together, fly them in from around the world for a week at a customer site, and we spend the week with one or more customers. And we've done multiple years of this now, and we integrate with the customer as best we can. And so
Okay.
last January we went to Western Canada in winter out to fantastic customer, a coal mining facility who use us everywhere. And um, we got on their mine rescue bus, their command bus. We got driven around, got through all the facilities, production. The whole week is this talk about how they safe, what risks they have, and then we build into that our culture. So we've got this: be courageous, be considerate. That's one of the tones you were picking up. I think there you were mentioning, and be confident, be considerate, and be uncomplicated. I should say courageous
Mhm.
so right. So that being considerate piece, we're drilling into people all that week. How do we do it? We write letters to each other before we travel, saying how we've seen them be considerate. We then read the letters out about ourselves to the group while we're traveling on a bus at night as we're moving overnight to another
I
customer.
love it.
They're crazy little things that being considerate. We shipped everyone a little gift before we went to the car. We went to the Caribbean one year. We shipped and there was like everyone had to fly like five or six connections and then taxis and everything else, right? To get this small island in the Caribbean. And we shipped everyone a little gift. Um, it was a little glass heart, and it said I can't, something like thank. It was more than thank you, but it was anyway. It was along those lines, and we said we want you to gift it to somebody before you get to the hotel in the Caribbean, from when you after you leave your house, um, for something you saw them do for somebody else, right? Now, you can't be for you. It's somebody else. You witness somebody being considerate. Everyone turned up with their gift pretty much at the hotel. No one could give it away. And why?
Wow.
Because they're flying, it turns out, has become so automated and machine led, automatic check. I
Yeah.
didn't talk to a human. I actually gave mine to my taxi driver in the Caribbean because I had no one else to. You talk to
Yes,
no one on
man.
the plane.
That was good.
Like it's all like it's no one at check-in, no one at the gate. It was all automatic scan, automatic pass. Go here, right?
Yeah.
It was amazing. Anyway, so we on these trips we break down what being considerate is. We break down what being confident is. We break down what being uncomplicated is. We had another group provide a rescue. We were casualties for a customer. They were a lifeboat service, and we had a yacht that we were all on, and we phoned 911 with permission for a to say we'd had a gas explosion, and we got to see the whole tasking process, and they eventually the lifeboat ends up at our boat, and we've these casualties, and afterwards we debriefed a large fire at sea and multiple injuries,
Wow.
debriefed it under the theme of what was uncomplicated about that. And so breaking down, well, they did this that was uncomplicated, asking the rescuers, how did you uncomplicate the stretcher coming off the boat? And so we just put these keywords in people's minds in the space of safety repeatedly again and again and again. So that's a very long way of how we build culture, but it's a deep culture, and the team are very tight, even though we're so remote, and we're which we'll talk about in a little bit. We've joined Eco Online back in June.
Mhm.
We were at 20 people, just under 20 people when we joined them. So still a big enough team to coordinate across 17 hours of time zone.
Wow. That's amazing. I love it that you talked about how you did your culture because, well, we've had a lot of bad leaders throughout our history, let's use that terminology. Okay, right? And it's great to hear how, I know for the interaction, how loyal they are to the team and how loyal they are to you. And I also know too that from my interactions that is a culture that takes a long time to build, and it has to be done by leader first. So that's huge. That's exciting. Okay, so thank you, sir, very much. You brought up Eco Online. If you wouldn't mind, I would love to have you talk about the future of D4H and Eco Online.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we reached a point in D4H where, and most companies reach it, you've got to go and raise investment to take the big step up. So we've got something that's working.
Mhm.
Like I've been doing D4H for 17 years. Like these are slow. We did it bootstrap, right? So I should say that from the start, there was no investment. So this was an organically grown business.
Mhm.
$1 in, $1 more gets invested into the right. I mean, we've enough dollars now to hire a second person coming in. That's and
Yep.
organic. It makes for an extremely strong company when you do it that way.
Yes.
But it's a long, patient process. Now, we reached a point where we were starting to become a thorn in the side of our competitors. And at that point, our competitors are owned by large investment companies, private equity, lots of others.
Mhm.
If they choose to squash you, they could squash you. I mean, it is a thing of if they decide to squash you, you could be squashed.
Right.
Um, and so you get to the point where to jump that dangerous period where you're popping up on all their competitor reports as
Yeah.
an, an unfinanced competitor, you're in a very, very dangerous zone suddenly, and there you expect attacks. And so I was at the point of, this is a period of about a year. Okay, it's time to raise money now, or go into a larger company we can accelerate it with. And the view of that was always, I still want to run it, I still want to be there, I still want to do it. This wasn't an exit for me. It was how do we take our mission we all believe in and accelerate this. Um, our mission is to eliminate entirely the unnecessary harm caused by emergencies to people, property, reputation, assets, this kind of stuff. So how do we do that? And we always put in the end of it wherever humans go, because we had this piece of
Yeah.
wanting to also do it on Mars if we got to Mars. So and we actually already serve SpaceX, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Uh, where was I going with that? The
SpaceX was pretty cool, Robin. That's what you know.
yeah, I
That's so
started thinking
fun.
about planets. What was the original question? I was talking about the
How you basically are merging with Eco Online, and you were talking about your
yeah.
strengths and how you did it.
Right. So I looked at the investing option. If we and we, I mean, um, to give people a sense of how in demand we were, I think I had 100. I think I was at 144 inbound inquiries to invest or invest
Hmm.
in or entirely acquire the business, of which I did calls with over 60 or 70 of those in
Wow.
the space of 6 months. That was just, I mean, that's just a window into like huge demand. We had all the options on the table, all the
Yeah.
options go into any, really to go anywhere in the world with it, and or raise as much money as we wanted. We were really in demand service. It just the world happens to be in flux and volatility right now. That this is a good business to be in. And
Yes, sir.
so so they yeah, so I looked at if we raise, and we're talking about raising, tens and tens of millions to go forward. If we do that, I felt the moment is now.
Mhm.
And if we do that, we're going from a very small company to building this workforce and teams and office. I think this is just like a mega project. It's going to take a couple of years to get up to speed to where we want to be. Or we could go into Eco Online, where who we chose to go with, 17 offices around the world, sales force of a couple hundred people, all the relationships with, I think, 11,000 customers already, serving them chemical and safety management software, loan worker tools. Like they're in our space, and we can plug straight into that and accelerate off. And so, very much my decision was, yeah, that's what I'm going to go do. And what I wanted to do as part of that is lead D4H through that. It's very much a how do we use these resources to accelerate.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, and I definitely see why you're doing it. Because I can tell you, just because I had conversations with a lot of companies, they definitely know who you are. so, so I want that known. I would imagine a very good chess move there. Okay, so all right. So Rob, I'm going to ask you now a kind of a personal question, if it's okay. All right. So can you tell us? And we have students, we have people, professionals. Look, we all have issues that happen, right? Can you tell us what was the biggest failure that you experienced through your career of building either D4H or just you and your team? And then how did you overcome it?
Biggest failure. Well, the first thing I'd say is more on just to put failure into context. I have a belief that there are lots of ups and downs, and you go into these things knowing this is a roller coaster, right? And
Yes, sir.
uh, the only way to not why I'm going to say is we've had no big failures is because I've let nothing be a big failure,
Hmm.
but in the same manner I've let nothing be a big win. And so if that this explains it, that the technique there of where small companies fall out, they fall out the bottom because the depth of the failure is too bad. Just even mentally, I'm just done with this because everything's hard. Or they
Yes.
over celebrate and go off the top. They think they're great, right? And so I was extremely down the middle, and they're saying, don't celebrate this, but don't that failure's okay. And you use the energy of the win against the failure. And I just did that constantly through. I just let it be unemotional thing. I'm going to sit in the middle on this wave, right? And use the energy of the up to counter the down and go through. So we have we and I would have run it as well, quite risk averse in that manner. That's why it took so long. And so there's been no great failure. Now there's some funny stories about stuff that we effort we went to that was completely wasted. We when we launched the product, I had this amazing product and thought, oh yeah, we have to charge for this now. So I actually spent 9 months after having a ready product getting registered with a bank to open a business bank account, to
Okay.
register back pre-Stripe days as a credit card merchant, which we had to have full documentation how we were going to do returns, and the bank couldn't figure out how we were going to return software that didn't ship on a CD. The
Oh my.
amount of back and forth. I mean, like
Yeah.
in 9 months to do this credit. I mean, the works. And I was like, we opened up then great, we have it. And I had to write all the software to connect to the credit card system. And there was nothing to do this. And we connected all through, and you could go online, D4H was Decisions for Heroes at the time, and you could put in a credit card number and create an account, and it started billing you $60 a month. Yes. And so I open it up, and the first customer signs up, but they send an email, can we send you a check in the post? And,
Oh,
and so it was that to me failure. That was 9 months we could have been taking checks in the mail. And it just never, I was like, people buy software online. Who's gonna send a check? So that was one of our really good ones to start. That check actually came from Clark County, Mississippi. So the first ever payment for D4H was from Clark County, Mississippi, from Clark County Sheriff, and they're still customers today.
oh,
Uh,
Well, that says a lot.
2 decades later. Yeah.
That is huge. You see, that's that's huge. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so Robin, if you can outline the three most influential people that, simply put, help make you.
Help make me.
It's a toughie.
I'll give you the cliche one first, that not just because I should mention it, but my wife is an incredible inspiration.
Okay, you need to mention that one, Robin.
I say that because we're quite the team on it. She's an attorney, and I'm the software guy, and we make a good team. So a lot of me, and we've uh, yeah, we've been together since we were practically children. So it's a long time. Met in Scouts. Scouts is co-ed in Ireland. We met in Scouts and ended up
wow.
married with 3 kids and taking over the world to what we can. But we're a great team. So I'm gonna say that is the most shaped by anybody I ever have been. Now, in a business sense, I'm saying that in as well. Like
Yeah.
right. Um, the next one I mentioned, I had a US maths teacher in Ireland who came in from the US. He met an Irish woman, moved to the US, from a high school in I'm gonna say Illinois, and he came over to our little school in Ireland. And I was the kind of nerdy character, liked my computer stuff, didn't know much about it. And this I didn't know who this teacher was, but he put up a poster on the wall saying, starting a computer science club on Wednesdays. Anyone
Oh,
want to join? About 5 of us turned up from, I was 14, maybe a 12-year-old, two 12-year-olds, a 14-year-old. Yeah, I was probably, yeah, around though, everyone's around that age. And didn't know what this was going to be, but it sounded great. And he was getting he entered us in the American Computer Science League,
whoa.
and we used to get the coding problems by fax. And then we'd have to write out by hand our answers, the code to solve the challenge, and fax them back again. And like sometime during the week on the main school notice board, our school, Sutton Park School in Ireland, was listed on the top 5 schools in the US in the American Computer Science League tables. And we were like, yeah, so this was this great inspiration. And so I had this teacher, he turned me around in maths as well, and was just fantastic. And one of these teachers just always kept in touch. He's had me into his classes, and when he moved school, I came in and I've spoken to his classes on Zoom calls and all sorts of stuff. We've kept in touch. He ended up speaking at my wedding a couple of years ago. Like he's just like we just had this guy sort of probably came into my life at the key moment, that influenced me to take an interest in, oh, I'm good at this, and it's something I'm really good at. So I would put it as Tom Kendall, highly high impact on my outcome, I would say. Third one I'll give to scouting and my scout leaders, which are
Yeah.
a number of people. But scouting is where I learned to manage people. And so, as I was saying, scouting was co-ed. We had, I'm going to say 40, 50, so teenage kids involved, going camping every week, going hiking, going mountaineering, and it got me into. I became a patrol leader. We at one point we won the Irish national camping competition, first place. Like all this stuff when you're a kid, just you're good at something. You're good at this. Why were you good at this? And these guys, they were all young. They were all these. They were only, I think, 25. The guys at the time. We're still all friends. But they were driving us to you're really good at this, and it was all just people leadership skills. How do you take your peers? How do you take people and take them up a mountain for 3 days? And that we was very much give you responsibility. You're going camping in this woods. We're going to camp down, 100 yards this way, but you guys need to bring all your own food, do this, build shelters. We'll make sure you're safe, but you're there on your own for 3 days. You're 14-year-olds, and so that's where I would have absolutely developed leadership, how to get things from people, how to make things happen, how to persuade people to do something. We need to get this built. We need to get this done. All that all comes from in an outdoor environment, scouting. Yeah, massive piece for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, this is your last question for me, Robin, okay? I have a lot of students who always ask this. How can someone, or what do you look for to join your team? Because we have a lot of people who, believe it or not, would like to work for you.
What do they need in terms of like, as in soft skills rather than a specific role?
It's a toughie, I know.
It's a tough question. I'm trying to generalize it into what I'd recommend people to do. Like I would say that the most impressive thing to me as an employer is when somebody's just doing projects in their own time. And so they are like, engineers is really easy. Like I'm coding in the evenings, I'm doing this project. If we get people who are like, no, I don't do that. Like 5 o'clock, like after college day, what did you do? Oh, well, I built this database for search and rescue. Like I write, that's OU. That's what I want. Now, in other fields, it's things like, it might be volunteering at something. It might be, we've had people who, like well, you've met a good few of the team. They're like volunteer firefighters, all sorts of other people on the team who this is their passion. They do it by choice after work. They do more of it. And so I think ideally the passion is in the field that you're talking about, not just any, but you can't create passion as an employer, but you can convert passion from one thing to another. So if you're a passionate person and you're passionate about things and you really lean into, like, my whole background is volunteering, and it's passion for that, and I can apply that to work. You can apply passion, but you can't create it. So when we get people who are like super passionate and they go every night, they're working till 1 a.m. on some project, it's just a passion for something ideally related, like emergency management, like volunteering at something, like whatever it is. And they just love that and they're developing that themselves. That's where I go, yeah, this is the person.
Awesome. Robin, I just simply want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on this cast and to be able to, for our students and the people around me, to get to know you more. Sir, we're very honored and we thank you again. And we thank you again for D4H, your company, and everything that you've done for the program. And again, I don't know of really anyone else who has supported us more probably than you and your team.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
So thank you, sir, very much. Okay, so everyone, all right, so if you have enjoyed this podcast, I know I have, okay, so I guarantee we'll be watching this one again and again. But as we get ready to sign off today, I just want to thank you for watching this podcast with Robin Blandford, who was the CEO and is head of D4H and has been a massive supporter to our program. But we thank you for watching WIU Inside the System. Have a good day.